news from the campaign trail. Donald Trump is calling for all Muslims to undergo a loyalty test.
Follow me, please.
Inshallah, mashallah, hopefully no martial law. Hell yallah, yo yallah, let's rock a show in Ramallah. Kick it with Muhammad when I'm out in Haifa. Kick it with Muhammad when I'm out in Jaffa. I be on the road like every single year, and I ain't see you nowhere just like Hoffa. Do it so proper, looking like a doctor. At the checkpoint, say my visa's doctored. IDF all around running with them choppers. Wanna shoot my papa, got me drinking vodka. Got me feeling paranoid, got me drinking wine. Bad ting, and I love how she whines. She don't eat swine, and she looks so divine. I was looking for love in Palestine. Oh no, we're in trouble. TSA always wanna burst my bubble. Always get a random check when I rock the stubble.
Oh, sorry, I gotta search you, bruv. Oh, you're that Bray off that film, innit?
Tie, take a tie, vibe in the vibe. We're militant, you're on a milli vanilli vibe. Stopping refugees is just silly blood. What you know about Aeneas in the Iliad? Fled Turkey and he just founded Rome. What if you drowned in a boat? Yanks eat turkey cause your peeps have found a home. Where you think all the sounds on your phone from? Where you mean Her Majesty's London? Where you think all Her Majesty come from? Trump want my exit, but if you press a red button to watch Netflix, bruv, I'm on. I run the city like my name's Sadiq, not the Syrian city of the beat. Some all wanna preach, but that's peak. I shut 'em up like sheep on buckwheat.
Oh no, we're in trouble. TSA always wanna burst my bubble. Always get a random check when I rock the stubble.
Terminal 5,
Terminal 1,
think we're termites.
wanna terminate us. Terminal 5,
Terminal 1,
think we're termites.
wanna terminate us. Terminal 5,
Terminal 1, think we're termites. Wanna terminate us.
I'm sorry for the inconvenience. Here's your champagne. Enjoy first class.
Welcome to the Last Minute Show. Today I have a guest. We have a guest appearance with Deniz, my friend, who also featured in last month's special edition, Makaliye. She talked about her work as an activist in refugee camps. So you might remember her performance presentation. And today we are both in New York.
Hello.
As you hear, in the same room, which happens very rarely. And we will talk about how the nightmare is affecting us, the nightmare of current politics, and how we are dealing with it, roughly speaking. I mean, we will deviate from that pretty much, but that's at least our entry point. And we will talk about what's going on here in New York, basically. So, without further ado, I will leave it to Deniz to talk about her immediate observations and experience of the protest in JFK Terminal 1, 2, 4. I think it was 4.
It was 4, yeah.
Yes.
For a second, I couldn't even remember.
Yeah.
Because it was actually very exciting to be in the metro for like an hour and just realizing everybody on that metro was going to this protest. Basically, nobody was there actually like trying to travel. But a lot of people were shouting like, "Who's there to like who's going to the protest?" and all, and everybody would shout like, "Yeah, me too." And you just realize like there's like one person perhaps in the whole metro just actually going to the airport. And somebody was joking, saying that something has gone like terribly wrong if like all the New Yorkers are flooding to the airport. was a good observation, I thought, because I don't know anybody who picks up their friends from the airport in New York.
No, never happens. And also, JFK is particularly hard to go by public transport, and
True.
even hard and expensive, even though it's public transport. So, and that day it was horribly cold and damp.
True. And I believe the air train made like the most money it has ever made in their life. Some of us were asking, like, should we just jump over the turnstiles and all of that? But then everybody was, no, we have to, abide by the rules. So, like, we shouldn't jump. So everybody paid that, like, extra $5 or whatever.
So very
it
nice,
was.
liberal of them.
Exactly.
And at what time were you going to the airport?
And there were a lot of calls around for all through the day, actually. But then the time that they actually got a permission from the police was around 6. But once I arrived there, it was like 6:15 or something. There were hundreds of people already, like some of them occupying the car park, some of them just like scattered around. And then you could see the riot police like gearing up. I mean, not necessarily hostile towards the protesters, but there was like a massive influx of people coming in, and I found it very interesting that the police was actually leading us like where to go.
Wow.
They were saying like, okay, please don't use this door, try to use this door, and like it's only a 2-minute walk away where the protesters are, and you could hear them, and by minute it was getting bigger and bigger.
Do you think they were prepared for something like this or unprepared?
Actually, we talked about this a lot. I believe that space was very special because like the infrastructure of that space is not ready to welcome that many people. Yes, I mean when you think of airports, there's a lot of security checks, but those are inside the building itself. It's mostly like never outside of the building, and it's just like mass of people coming in. Nobody was expecting that.
So right outside of the airport is actually a public space, technically speaking.
I guess so, but still, I mean, if the police wanted to attack, and there was a point actually around 8:30 where there were calls with like megaphone being made about like if you're undocumented or do not have your papers with you, it might be better for you to leave. There might be a confrontation with the police.
Helping. Yeah,
take this number,
and
that's also an interesting like it's a protest for immigrants and refugees, but then certainly using the American term, it's like the allies' responsibility to be in that space after a certain point if there's a possibility of like police breaking in and starting arresting people.
And we are very much used to that.
Yeah.
Knowing what we know, coming from the place that we come. And so you just happened to see this on Facebook and just decided to go?
Yes, and there were 4 different calls for JFK Airport. Everybody was talking about like how many
calls
people.
By, you mean?
The different organizations,
okay.
And lawyers organizations, just like immigrant and refugee solidarity organizations, and also like my friends were talking about it, I guess. But I mean I went there alone and then just like ran into a lot of friends, which was
that's wonderful.
That was a good coincidence. And it was quite lively, and you could like the slogans were changing by the hour, which is also becoming a bit more radical, I guess.
With each passing of time?
Exactly,
okay.
Exactly. And the more people came, the more space we started occupying, and there was a lovely, I believe it was between 7 and 8 p.m. I might be mistaken, but the taxi drivers were on strike, so they were not going to pick up any passengers that would leave from JFK.
Wow.
Which was also a big support because we were basically blocking the traffic. Although, again, I mean, some people really wanted to block the airport traffic. Some people were a bit reluctant, so it was this like nice tension, but the traffic flow was interrupted. Therefore, taxi drivers taking a stand like this really helped.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And it sounds like quite radical for the US. I mean, for any kind of labor group doing a strike like that immediately is a response.
As a
And it's not
response.
like, it's not that precedented.
I believe so too, yeah. And it was very much appreciated by everyone. And then there was all this talk about like Uber, almost like
It's
breaking
kind of-
the strike, you know, and like
Yeah,
profiting
it's-
from the
yeah.
fact that the taxis are not running. And then at this point, I believe like a lot of people have deleted Uber from their phones, and that became a thing. Like,
That became viral, and that kind of actually stole the stage from discussing the real thing that's at hand. It kind of got out of the way, I believe. It was weird that people started talking about Uber and their kind of privileged way of... I don't
it
know.
became a big
Transporting.
activism. I mean, I was for deleting Uber, but then like, yeah, people started talking a lot about deleting Uber, I found.
Yeah, it's
And then instead what they use Lyft, and then what does it hurt? I mean, the taxi drivers union here again, so like I don't see the difference, really.
And the taxi drivers, like, do you think they also participation? I mean, or at least like on Facebook, I saw things like that. Do you agree that their participation was due to the fact that many taxi drivers in this city are immigrants themselves?
I mean, could be. I mean,
But in
even,
that-
even if that it wasn't the case.
But at that moment, it wasn't articulated as such necessarily.
Not that I know of, but
Mhm.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Not sure.
And when did you return from the airport?
Around 9:30, I
So you
guess.
stayed a good 3 hours.
Yes, and at some point it became what looked like a celebration of sorts, like this like solidarity celebration. I always really appreciate like when there's music at the protest.
Uh-huh.
But at certain moments, I mean, again, like I really appreciate the guy who with the saxophone, like playing music, and then there were a lot of people playing the drums and stuff. They were trying to make announcements, but like people were so into the music that was playing, and you know they go like mic check, but you can't really hear what's going on because of the music. Yeah, that was a funny moment. But yeah, I believe like last half an hour people were mostly dancing. Then there was a call for like Arabic speakers to like Arabic or like Farsi speakers to. I believe there was a problem and they needed some interpretation.
Did you volunteer?
I volunteered with a friend of mine. I was telling him, you know, like together maybe we can make this work. But then we realized there were at least like 30 people like rushing to volunteer for this, which rarely ever happens. So I was very happy to see that too, I guess. But then we couldn't find where we were needed for a long time. So that was also funny. And that sort of like lack of coordination sort of persisted a couple of days later after the protest, where there were all these calls for interpreters to show up, but then like something was wrong with the Google documents or something.
Oh, okay.
But no, I mean, people continued there. I mean, I didn't go to JFK afterwards, but people were there either like helping out the lawyers, providing interpretation, or just like logistics. I don't know, like sending food. And there were a lot of calls like, if you need to send food like to the airport, they really need it.
Oh, okay.
And, that was very special for me. I don't know if, I think in this country, like personally, for the first time in my life, like something I cared about was really like taken on by like a mainstream group of people. And I mean, there were a lot of things going on in other airports too, and like suddenly airports sort of like significance also changed. I feel like, you know,
Because
you can organize there too,
Yeah.
apparently,
Yeah.
as an unexpected place to be.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't myself heard any protests at the airport before.
Mm-hmm.
Although, you know, I haven't lived in this country for so long, but still. It kind of, emphasized that space, I guess.
Yeah.
For many people, for people who live in this country for longer than us, I believe.
It's also a very emotional space. Yeah, I'm always like personally like traveling, like leaving somewhere, like
Yeah.
coming into like
It's
somewhere
a border,
new.
it's of sorts,
Yeah.
I arrived to the city a day before, I guess, of the executive order. And even then, I was seeing in the immigration line, like black bodies being separated from the rest of the queue.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I couldn't understand what was going on, but I didn't want to be alarmed or alarming. And then the order came, and the moment that you realize your paranoia is not paranoia anymore, it's shocking.
It is. I'm thinking like on the other hand, like when resettlement, for example, happens, I can talk about like the Turkish side to that. Once you know that you're gonna be resettled within certain weeks, usually you have lived 2 to 5 years in Turkey, so you actually have a place, you're paying rent, you have all this stuff, and you need money. Nobody's gonna give you like cash upon your arrival to States, so you need to sell your stuff, gather all the money you have, perhaps like break your contract with the rented house you were living in. And a lot of people were stranded in that situation. They were about to get on a plane, and then like
The ones that were restrained, you mean?
and then not necessarily in JFK, like I'm talking about if this order was to, you know, go on for a month or two, a lot of people waiting to be resettled from Turkey would be in a situation where they basically let go of everything in their hand in Turkey and like ready to board on that plane just with a suitcase and some cash on that.
And then
If they're lucky, if
they
they're
will be
lucky.
held
And
for
they-
an unknown
Exactly.
period of time,
But,
maybe.
but now I believe like it's being reversed right now. So
Yeah.
but it's a nightmare when you think about it, because like you wait for that day of resettlement after, I don't know, like so many security checks and medical checks and all that.
And the whole psychological torture of coming to that point before that for years.
Yeah.
So the technicalities of, you know, the order itself and legal reversal of it, we don't know much yet about that, I think. Or if you know, please, maybe you would like to talk
Like
more.
federally now, it's like no, you cannot just do that. Was the answer that was given. I
But
mean, I
it-
wouldn't be able to speak to more.
For a certain while, they didn't even listen to that and continued whatever they were doing. Which
I think in practice, it doesn't really translate. Like the moment the federal judge says no, it should be in effect. But I really don't know the.
And do you know the U.S.'s position in Syrian refugees in general? Like before that, at least, like
Sure.
how many refugees would
So with
US
numbers-
receive
So with numbers, I'm very bad. But I know that.
in terms of general policy, at least?
Yeah, the general policy has been. I think a comparison here helps with Iraqi refugees. With Iraq,
Wonderful.
and again, like this is from the country of asylum being Turkey, Iraqi refugees and like Syrian refugees in Turkey. So with Iraqis,
So we are kind of like the zone between.
exactly,
Yeah,
right.
okay.
Since Turkey does not accept refugees or gives refugee status to people who are applying for refugee status in Turkey outside of Europe. So if you're from Europe and you come to Turkey and apply for asylum, you might be a refugee.
Okay.
Elsewhere, it's a country of transit.
And why is that?
Why is that? They have a geographical limitation to all these like UN and international treaties they've signed, which is also a rare thing in the world. But Turkey decided to do that. And with Syrian refugees, it's even worse because they have created a new category in international law where you, like by calling them guests, Turkey has denied international protection rights that refugees have to Syrians, which sets the checks and balances in a way that Turkey decides not international standards. So with Syrians, that has been the case since their arrival. And when it comes to resettlement, what Iraqis had to do was go to UNHCR, which is in Ankara, register with them. And through that, they were settled to a satellite city, which is mostly, except in vulnerable cases, which is mostly not big cities, so like all around Anatolia.
Like Çorum?
Like Çorum, Denizli, Kayseri, Konya, yeah, you name it, and they're satellite cities.
And these cities are usually like, I mean,
A bit more
social speaking, yes, conservative cities, right?
Yes, and but it's interesting in certain cities, like there are big refugee communities which depending on the case, which can be to your advantage and not to your advantage. For example, with the LGBT community, we had a lot of there's a lot of cases where
Frictions.
there's a lot of frictions, or be like coming from the host community or within the community. But like within the community, like pressures, it could be dependent on your sect, or like families might not get along with each other. So like, since within these cities, these communities are very small, there's no sense of anonymity maybe, which might be useful for like certain cases.
Yeah.
But anyway, so you get registered with UNHCR, you're at a satellite city. Depending on the city, you have to go to police perhaps maybe once a week. It really depends who the
So you have to
officer
report
is.
to the police.
Yes, but it really depends. Some officers are a bit more relaxed. Some officers are very, adamant of the fact that like you have to come here like every day. Yeah, it depends on their mood basically.
Yeah.
So after that, you're referred to an agency by UNHCR. You don't get to decide like which country you want to go to. There are some like considerations made there, like whether you have like a close relative, or like you report all of your relatives living abroad. Maybe if there's a certain quota at the time you're applying, it might help you. But most of the time it doesn't, unfortunately.
Really? So they don't end up with their relatives?
They might not. So like it's always the best option to go to the interview of like whatever country you were given, and so like you should always like use that chance. And then the whole process starts. So like a lot of countries have different policies. With US, you have what's called a pre-screening interview, where all your like biographical data and the reason why you left the country is taken, and then you have like a bunch of security checks, which I have no idea how it's being done. But it's like we know that it's just very rigorous. And then you have a medical check, and then what's called a cultural orientation, which is like a 3-day training on like from like what to expect on the airplane, how to do your luggage, what to expect when you go to States, what the culture in States looks like, and So it's like an interactive way of like, if this person has no idea about like what to expect in States, has a bit of an idea, and like all ages are welcome to işte, in this orientation. But this takes a very long time, especially if there's something wrong with your security check or your
And
medical
US bureaucracy is
condition.
notoriously slow in any case.
I guess so, yeah.
Yeah.
So minimum of 2 years.
And in the meantime, you're in Turkey,
yeah.
in this weird
Situation
status,
where you cannot
which is not a
work.
status even.
Yeah, where you cannot work, you do not have access to medical care, education. Again, it depends on like where you are, how much welcoming they are. I mean, I know people like there are Afghan families who've been in Turkey for like 10 or like 12 years now. I mean, they spoke better in Turkish than I did. First of all, when I was interviewing them. But so like yes, education is a weird thing too.
The children growing up literally and
but with Syrians, it's different. Although you see, like internationally speaking, yes, guest is not a
it's not a status.
proper status, but then they immediately got like healthcare, and there was some like shelter provision. Maybe it's not the best, but like there were these camps. So like the satellite city situation does not apply to Syrians unless.
Do you think
Not
it
unless it
might
doesn't
be
apply to
due
them.
to Turkey's kind of apologetics involvement?
It's not just that. It's also
the
about
war?
numbers. I feel like. I mean, logistically speaking, I wouldn't. Could be. I mean, this is not a. It's not a.
Counterpoint necessarily.
Yeah. I mean, there's
By
a lot
numbers,
of.
we are talking about millions, right?
More than 2 million at least. As far as I know, it's like 2.7 maybe. No, I don't want to make up numbers, but it's more than 2 million, and it's like we're the biggest receiving country in the region right now. When you compare it with Lebanon is like one out of every 4 people Syrian, and there's like a big Palestinian refugee community in Lebanon too. Similarly in Jordan, I mean Jordan is a big receiving country too. There's a lot of movement in between too. There are Syrian families being resettled, obviously, to states, but the path and the time frames as to how they are being resettled is very different to the general, like, to Iraqis, Iranians, or like Afghans in Turkey until işte 2000.
Do you think longer or shorter?
That unfortunately I haven't been able to tell. It's again, but there is a massive influx. Obviously, still, UN is still involved in the process. They're the ones who are referring the cases to this agency. But yeah, I mean it's really case specific.
Yeah,
I found,
see.
yeah, and it's never ending. So I was in contact. It immediately affected this agency's work. I mean, they
The
were
executive order, you mean?
yeah. Normally, I guess, let's say, if they're doing, let's say they're doing like 50 cases a day, and they schedule like 50 times, they're 250 a week or something, let's say. But like they had no cases 2 weeks ahead of them for like 2 days or 3 days. I believe they're back on track right now since the order is cancelled and everybody's moving again. But it's quite something, and like, why did we do all these cases? There was probably like 1,000 case like backlog or something that were waiting to be interviewed by the Americans so that they decide. Yeah.
So when we're actually talking about disorder, we are not talking about people being held in airports at all. We are talking about a very
both.
big picture
Yes,
here
yes,
happening.
yes.
Like, I mean, and this is only you're only describing the Syrian situation at the moment. There are also 6 other countries involved, and also the de facto other Muslim countries, including Egypt, Turkey.
Yeah, and I mean at the border, I was telling you, like, I personally get checked all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is like before boarding the plane. It's always a random check, but it's always randomed on me. Like, I don't know how that works.
This can't be.
Yeah.
It might be due to the stamps on your passport.
Or something.
Yeah.
Or my name, I don't know.
Oh yeah, you mentioned something like that in an older story about your name.
That was me trying to cross the border into Palestine by the Israeli. Yeah.
We did and we won. Mr. President, you need to allow whoever is the head of Homeland Security work with you, advise you. You cannot allow for someone who has no clue about immigration policy, Mr. Steve Bannon, overrule the staff at the White House, and this is what we got. So, Mr. President, we are not going away. We are not backing down. From our airports to the courts to the streets, we will continue to fight for justice and freedom.
The order itself was a shock, but also the rate at which people mobilized to go there, and honestly, I mean, I wasn't there, I don't know, but many people seem to be just ordinary people, like not particularly being part of an organization, but they just showed up with their children, with their
There were a lot of children.
right, like that the pictures kind of showed that, and then the next day there was an organization. This was organized by
Was it?
ACLU, maybe it was NYC. I think either one of them. Organizations working for immigrants, working for human rights. They announced that there will be a protest at Battery Park, which is in the south point of Manhattan Island, overlooking to Ellis Islands, at which you have the what's it called? The Freedom
Statue of Liberty.
Statue of Liberty. Yes.
Freedom, liberty.
So it's kind of like a symbolic spot. Although I realized that it was a very bad spot for organizing a meeting, and maybe you would tell why.
Because it was impossible to move.
Yes.
Or to leave the place.
It was impossible to come together as a big body of people.
Exactly.
Battery Park is it's a green area, and there's a small auditorium sort of point. I guess I wasn't able to reach there, but the greenery was blocked by fences. Because
for a very long time, yeah.
Yeah, because it's winter, because they need to keep their grass. And it took me a very long time to get to the point where Deniz was located, but we still couldn't meet because, for one, it was hard to see where people were grouping. It's very hard for me to describe. Can you try describing the space?
The circular green area was basically surrounded by all these protesters, which created a big gap between them. I mean, there was one stage where all these talks were going on, whatever. But then it looked like a bagel, basically, or a simit. Like empty in the middle.
Yeah, it's kind of like a bagel. I would agree that. Yeah.
So protesters were the bagel and the green point. And then they opened it. And then people were able, because there were so many people, they sort of had to open it. Otherwise, they would be blocking the traffic.
Oh, okay.
And nobody wants to do that. It's
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't realize, for instance, it was later open. I was just trying to find my way. That was it. And I'm a short person. You don't know that, but I'm a short person. And I couldn't see anything, but just lots of people.
And it was actually... It's interesting because here I feel like they really think about crowd control and management. If there's an emergency, This was the worst place.
Yeah.
I felt like, yes, it's big. Yes, it's very symbolic, I guess. Then there was a march towards like further north into the city, which we didn't go because it was freezing cold and we had already been there for like 3 hours or something. But it was nice, and I really liked the fact that there were a lot of like women speakers, and a lot of people with like different backgrounds, and if people didn't like what was being said, people replied to that, which was also
Oh, I didn't realize that. So
Yeah.
you were closer to the stage.
Yes.
Can you give me some scoop?
the stage. One thing that hurt me about that stage, like whenever there was a Spanish slogan or chant that was gonna go on, the crowd failed.
It's kind of like hearing Kurdish in Turkish protests to me. Like, I feel the same anxiety about not being able to replicate, but still wanting to.
Yeah, I mean, some people were trying, but then like I feel like the third time, people gave up a bit. So like I guess it really tells you like who was able to go there and not to, in a way. I think it's the circumstances, not that it was a conscious choice. Or it might be about papers, I don't know. Like there's a lot of things that might have affected.
Well, the demographic of the protest community was pretty white, I would say. Would you agree?
Yes and no. I don't know.
I'm not saying it as a
really
criticism,
can't.
actually.
Yeah.
It's just like I
No, there
kept
were a lot
seeing
of
white people.
Yes.
And a couple of
Which is
blacks.
good. I can't-
No, it was great, actually. It was emotional to me, like all these people using their privilege, if any, to show solidarity and support for other people. In this case, not privileged people, which is what we should be doing all along. What politics is always about. It's always a thinking of and protecting of the other in a way.
Oh yeah, there was a very good sign that said, like, take care of yourself, but then yourself was crossed out and it said, take care of each other. I thought that was a very well-made sign.
Our members are immigrants coming from all parts of this world, seeking justice and fairness and freedom and the right to live in peace and harmony and tolerance with others. The policies and politics coming out of the White House have been creating an intolerant atmosphere that is not good for any of us. One of our airport workers was attacked by a passenger at JFK Airport because she wears a hijab. And we are standing up and fighting for her and every
people of Syria rose up against a brutal dictator who for 40 years, one family ruled the country as if it was their own mafia state. And 6 years ago, the Syrian people rose up and were met with bullets in the streets. And that's why, ladies and gentlemen, when a government goes to war on their population, we see an influx of refugees and displacement that we haven't seen since the likes of World War II. Do you understand what I'm talking about? So brothers and sisters, when we talk about Syrians, we talk about a people who are resisting day in, day out. Half of Syrians today, for stepping up and asking for basic humanity and rights, have been displaced from their homes. Over 500,000 Syrians have been murdered by their government. 500,000 out of a country of 23 million. I, from my own eyes, went over and saw with my own eyes what's happening to our beautiful people. So when we see Syrians make it all the way here after being vetted for 2+ years to become refugees in America, we need to make sure that we welcome them with open arms. Is that right?
Yes!
All right, brothers and sisters, there are more beautiful people coming up on stage, but understand that we together, as one people, people of conscience, will make a difference and we will resist together. Is that right? Thank you, New York City.
Yesterday, I was wondering if I did the wrong decision by coming to this country. Wait, I was so depressed, and then I saw the news, and I just realized, like, no, we should never doubt that America is the land of immigrants. And people are the reason why this country is great. I will tell you just a little story about myself. I landed in JFK in May 2014 with nothing. I just had one bag, and almost after like 2 years and a half, I'm not that successful, but I think I am on the right way to be a successful person in life, hopefully. And this government offered me nothing. I got every opportunity in this country because of people like you, because I was offered places or offered opportunities by people who never doubted that I would be good enough just because I'm Syrian or just because I'm an asylum seeker. So you are the reason why this country is great. You are the reason why we will have a second chance in life.
Teach our kids that we should respect one another, that we should love one another, regardless of the color of our skin, where we were born, or what we believe in. Trump, I have a message for you. We have a message for you. Take a good look at us, a really, really good look at us, because whenever you attack anybody from our community, we will stand up. We will fight. We will have our voices heard. Because an attack on one of our community is an attack on all of us. No ban and there will be no wall. No ban, no wall. No ban, no wall.
Maybe also always sensitivity to the situation comes up because of the fact that that who should not be named have been threatening everyone indiscriminately for how many months now, and people are already feeling and people are already feeling pretty much how do you say, like jeopardized almost by his potential actions and actual actions already. So it was easy for them to show this reaction when something this radical, this intrusive almost happens. So I felt like, yes, people were there to show their response and show solidarity for Muslim bodies, for sure. But also, I felt deep down it was also a desire to come together against these policies at large. It happened in Women's March, of course. It happened Inauguration Day protests as well.
It happened the day we learned that he was the president-elect.
Yes.
Before the inauguration.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the big Lady Gaga
I think the desire to express incredulity is still there, and maybe this is a way of healing in a way, because it's a Sunday. It was an comparably actually open, clear day, even though it was cold. But still, I think people seemed cheerful despite the fact that people were being held in the JFK still. I'm not criticizing again. It's just like it's a very natural reaction, but and people needed each other, I feel.
It is that's one thing. Maybe we talked about this before, but it's the day again, like we learned that he was the president-elect. I remember a lot of my friends talking about like what you said, like feeling threatened because of their identities, and their communities are under attack. Like, if this guy comes to power, like, what's going to happen? And I believe first 3 days people talked about self-care. First being like mindful about, and that to me was very foreign.
We don't think in those terms at all.
I mean, me or my friends.
No, I mean Turks.
Yeah. And so I was very surprised by that reaction. And that's not to say like, oh, the organizing part never came. It definitely did, but then there was some time to actually try to understand what's going on, and perhaps like contextualize in a way that you yourself can make meaning out of it, maybe. And then, all right, what do we do now? That came like, I don't know, that was like a certain lag that I was. But also I'm talking about this like this university community that I see on a daily basis. I cannot really speak to like what's going on outside. But still, I think, and I'm trying to follow like all these like lefty political events going on around the city to see like what people, to have an idea of like what at least the topic of the discussions are. And like self-care is definitely a good thing, like being there for each other, like it's definitely a good thing. And like that perhaps again it's a healing thing to say you're scared, maybe like within your community, and like try to have a conversation about it, because like with articulation comes that it either becomes more real to handle, so it's like something that you can handle, or I have like other theories it might become.
Go on.
No, it's I appreciate that like it's this like oxygen mask on the airplane thing, first to yourself and then to like the person next to you, like help the person next to you. So
But I did hear from a friend who overheard people talking about protest fatigue.
Already.
Yeah.
All right. I don't know about protest fatigue, but I know about. Was that on Guardian? I believe that was an article on Guardian that said sex doesn't sell anymore. Capitalism does, and the advertisers know it.
Oh my god.
Already, like, it's been.
Are we
a
so
week,
gullible?
It's been 10 days or something. I was in Williamsburg, and all the ads were about social justice. And like, it's a clothes store, and there's like a writing on the wall that's like, it's a bit absurd, like how
It is.
I mean, ads are powerful, yes, but like. Come on, like give it some time, yeah.
So injustice was just for the last couple of months happening in this country? Apparently so.
But it's better than sex, apparently. So they say. I don't know.
So the Battery Park was pretty much like that. I mean, I was very, very, very disturbed by the whole geography, let's say, of the park. It was hard. I felt like for a very long time I didn't feel like I'm coming together with people. Only after entering the green lawn, I felt, okay, I'm in the community now. Like, I'm amongst the group of bodies, which was nice. And then
Starbucks happened. So like,
what's Starbucks? I didn't know.
Okay, Starbucks decided. I think Starbucks decided to employ 100,000 or like hundreds thousand of people or something like that, of refugees in States. So now you see like everybody talking, oh my god, like the Starbucks is the best thing. Like,
conscious raising.
I mean, first was Chobani. Okay, we knew that like Chobani was doing a great deal for the refugees, giving them a lot of benefits, whatever. And then like Coca-Cola has this like diversity commercial now. Pepsi has another commercial, and Kenko Coffee in the UK. Like it's just now it's all about, all these ads are about either social justice or activism, like some protest.
Capitalism is really perverse.
It is very quick.
This
too,
is
which is
obscene.
very bothering.
Very obscene.
But the funny, yeah, it's deleting, as I was saying, like deleting Uber, but then using Lyft, like these apps. Same thing, like yes.
And all these things are still happening to these people, like.
And it was before, so like. It's also why I'm a bit cautious about, like, oh yeah, this mobilization or like organization is gonna go forever, but who am I to say?
And this is New York. I mean, I wonder what kind of reactions this executive order received in other parts of the country. I mean, yeah, we heard about San Francisco, Washington, Chicago, LA, all those places that one would expect certain reaction. But what's happening in the red states, I don't know.
There are even like tweets right now where I cannot tell whether it's like an onion tweet or like Trump literally sounds like Erdogan in a way, like dış mihraklar are paying for these protesters. He's like
outside forces are
trying to, and I personally don't want to know if he actually said it or if it's just like
you just
fake
don't go
news.
for it, right?
It's like
either way.
Sure, yeah, and he might have said it, and it doesn't change anything really. It just when I arrived to States and like started working again at the office, like people greeted me with a funny. In a funny way, let's say. And they're like, man, you're fucked in both your countries. Like, how does that feel? They were not close friends of mine. I've been very offended. But I was like, yeah, you know, one guy there, the other one here. It's quite lovely.
No registry, fuck white supremacy, no ban. No registry, fuck white supremacy, no ban. No registry, fuck white supremacy, no ban. No registry, fuck white supremacy.
A lot of universities around the city also mobilized either their already established unions, graduate students unions, or in the making ones. And there was I believe it was on Monday that there was a big march from, you know, NYU, New School, CUNY, and Columbia, where they met at a certain place. I thought that was also a good move, which was not actually, which didn't have like the necessary permits to have a march. But then they didn't, and it was peaceful. Therefore, nobody said anything. They didn't block the traffic, so nobody said anything. Mm-hmm. Again, it was a nice privilege to be able to use your rights in that sense. You know. Again, I guess compared to Turkey, that was great.
Which has become impossible to do any kind of march, any kind of protest. And those of you who don't know, we have a referendum coming up about literally regime change, and any kind of meeting for defending the side of no, which is against the government's hopes. It's banned. It's completely intervened by the police. So it's such a privilege to go to the street with a group of people now, being bodies on the public space. It's no longer possible in Turkey unless you're a huge fascist group or an ISIS member.
Don't say that.
I did say that.
When I'm talking to friends back home, and I sent them like videos and stuff, and there was like one consensus where they all said, you know, these are the sounds, or this is the emotions we are missing a lot. Definitely not being able to do that is very it hurts, let's say.
It maims you in a way. I mean, there was a time, which is not so far away, in which we did protest and the police did beat us up, but still you were there and the police came and there was this kind of clash, this fight. Now it's no longer. It's just so impossible. Because of the executive orders, because of the post-coup attempt atmosphere that's created, all of the state forces are against any kind of dissent. So witnessing this thing happening here for us means a lot, despite everything else that surrounds it.
Sure.
So we were talking before starting the program about reading stuff out loud, and luckily Deniz is reading an amazing book that will definitely corresponds to the whole topic of the theme today.
Which doesn't go well when we think about like regime change. I feel like this is such a privilege to talk about democracy in a way that it's like, is it actually possible? It's like
or it's a futile hope, let's say.
Or maybe it's not. I don't know. I don't know how.
Okay, then interpret us. So Deniz will be reading.
I might read.
From her notes. She's very nostalgic. I mean, she's like she reads books and takes notes to her little notebook with her handwriting wonderful. So she'll be reading.
Unless I'm drunk, it gets worse. So
she'll
this
be
is before I was
reading
drunk.
excerpts from Chantal Mouffe's which book?
The Democratic Paradox.
The Democratic Paradox.
Am I?
she'll try, and that will be the closing remarks of the program. So I would like to thank Deniz beforehand.
Thank you
for
having me.
Thank you for coming here, and we hope that you enjoyed our conversation. We tried to be as serious as possible. We are not like that in everyday life. So I think we put on a nice show for you guys. And see you next month. And now I leave it to Deniz.
Well, these notes were a bit fragmented, so I hope you can keep up with it. So it goes, in order to impede the closure of democratic space, it's necessary to abandon any reference to the idea of a consensus that, because it would be grounded on justice and rationality, could not be destabilized. The main obstacle to such a radical pluralistic democratic vision is constituted by the misguided quest for consensus and reconciliation. And this is something that Wittgenstein, with his insistence on the need to respect differences, brings to the fore in a very powerful way. Thank God for Wittgenstein. And then refusing to reduce the necessary hiatus between ethics and politics, and acknowledging the irreducible tension between equality and liberty, between the ethics of human rights and the political logic, which entails the establishment of frontiers with the violence that they imply. Well, this is to recognize the field of political is not reducible to rational moral calculus and always requires decisions. To discard the illusion of a possible reconciliation of ethics and politics, and come to terms with the never-ending interrogation of the political by the ethical. This is indeed the only way of acknowledging the democratic paradox, says Muf. Thank you. If I'm not mistaken, the English translation of this was published in 2000 by Verso Books, if anyone's interested.
Resistance looks like. Resistance that brothers, freedom is not free in this country. The resistance needs resources. And I'm standing up here today to tell you to support those who are putting themselves on the front lines to defend our constitutional rights. So when you leave here today, the New York Immigration Coalition, Make the Road, ACLU, American Islamic Relations, Empower Change, these are the organizations that you need to be putting your resources behind. The opposition is organized and coordinated, and they put their money where their mouth is, and it's time for us, the progressive movement, to put our money where our mouths are. It's not in the abstract. These are human beings that are being impacted by this racist, white supremacist, white nationalist administration. It's not about banning the very people who are escaping the very